Hey guys, so I did talk a little bit about this book in my February wrap up part 2, Don't Wake Up by Liz Lawler, but as I was preparing that video I realised that there's way too much to say about this one to have it in a wrap up video. It needs its own review. So if you come across from there, cool. Otherwise I will link you to that one below in case you want to see the other books that I read in January and the ones that I didn't hate. This is a book that was published by 27, Imprint 27, and they published digitally first and then published in physical copy. And in my opinion this book should not have been published in either, at least not in the state that it's in at the moment. The story is that Alex, what's her last name? I don't know what her last name, Alex Taylor, I've forgotten it, blocked it from my memory. Alex Taylor is a exceptional doctor and she's leaving the hospital one night when she is abducted, and when she comes to, she is on an operating table with no clothes on and she's got like a sheet covering her and there's cannulas in her arms, and when she finally gets the attention of the person who's captured her there, he tells her that he's removed her birth control coil and he's going to give her a vulvectomy. And before he does that, he asks her, what does no mean? And she says no means yes, because that's obviously the rational choice. But hey, maybe she is as brilliant as they say, and maybe even in her drugged up state she kind of went, yep, I understand what this person wants me to say, I'm going to say no means yes. So she says no means yes just before she loses consciousness, and then she wakes up in the hospital with her clothes on, not a mark on her, and no one believes what happened to her. So she says that she needs to have a rape test done on her because she was raped by this person. They, as far as they're concerned, she was in the car park, got hit by a falling tree branch and knocked unconscious and was lying there for a while. So Alex is a really talented doctor who has been sought after by all these really well-known hospitals, and she's worked in some of the UK's best hospitals and she's got an amazing reputation. And she leaves the hospital and is abducted. When she's found and when she tells people what's happened, none of them believe her, and the way that she carries on about it is, it's not surprising that they don't believe her. Like, I don't believe her as an amazing doctor. I don't believe the police officers as skilled police officers. I don't believe her partner as a veterinary surgeon. I don't believe any of them. They're cardboard. They don't have any personality. There's nothing to make me think that they actually are as amazing as the author tells me they are. And I did predict what was happening. I didn't predict it as early as I thought I might have, so maybe it should deserve points for that. But the book was just awful. So it could be considerably a discussion on that, on the fact that no one listens to women when they say that something has happened to them. So Time's Up, Me Too, all that stuff about how people should listen to what women are telling them and how terrifying it is to come forward and say that this happened to them. But nothing that this character does actually speaks for that, and that's what really frustrates me, because as someone who has been assaulted, I take serious offence to this book. So damaging, problematic in terms of the assault and rape discussion. So a couple of quotes. Also the writing is not good, so that alone would have it at a low rating and make me not want to read it. But by the time I was far enough into this book to know that I wasn't going to like it for sure, I was angry at it, and I decided I needed to push through so that I could write an honest review, because no, just so many things wrong with this book. Yeah, in terms of the characters, there you have a person who is claiming she was raped when that's not actually what was proposed of the situation. Like, so she's escalating a problem beyond what it actually was. You have a person who is slut shaming her and basically saying that she's making it up, and you have someone who's an apologist. So just again, this could be a good discussion in the way that various women handle this whole Me Too movement and how they respond to what happens when other women say that they were assaulted, but just the way that it was handled, no. Anyway, so this is when the female police detective is talking to the boyfriend of about a year of the main character, and yeah, just feel the passion, guys. Oh, and the baby that's mentioned here is a baby that was lost by the hospital, and not lost as in misplaced, but the baby came in not breathing and blue, and then they were unable to save it. So she didn't personally have a miscarriage or anything, just to give you some context. Laura briefly pressed her lips together. What if she'd had a traumatic day? I hear she lost a baby yesterday. Might that have some bearing on her mental state? Patrick Ford's eyes narrowed. Her mental state? I do hope you're not suggesting Dr. Taylor is unbalanced, because I assure you she isn't. I would know. I spend enough time with her. Do not go down that route. If there is another explanation, it will be a physical cause. Concussion, most likely, and yes, possibly from a tree branch hitting her head. His eyes coolly appraised the detective. But until you've exhausted every avenue of searching for this man, I expect you to accept that she said what she said as truth. So again, like, this guy's been dating her for a year, and he calls her Dr. Taylor, and he says, I assure you she's an unbalanced. I spend enough time with her. I would know. I spend enough time with her. That just does not ring true about how someone would speak about someone that they've been dating for that long. It's very telly. It's very clunky. There's no showing. It's just, yeah, telling and horrible writing. This is when they're talking about how Alex met Patrick. And again, it just doesn't ring true. Alex rested back in his arms. She had grown to feel safe with this man. He intrigued and challenged her in equal measure. His passion for veterinary surgery matched her own for human medicine. He was ambitious and driven, a potent combination in someone who also had the looks of a male model. They'd met because of his passion for rugby. During the game, he'd ended up in A&E with a suspected fractured ankle. It wasn't love at first sight. In fact, she'd thought him a pain in the neck. His knowledge of medicine was at the same level of hers, and he had dictated the terms of his treatment at length, until she put him in his place and told him that she was the doctor, and she would decide if he needed crutches or not. A bunch of not overly imaginative flowers arrived in the department the next day, and he had followed up by asking her for a drink. So, I mean, okay, I'm not a veterinary surgeon, but surely the way that you would treat an animal with a with a fractured ankle would be a lot different to how you would treat a human with a fractured ankle, because a human, you can say you need to keep your weight off that and give them crutches, but a dog or a cat, you can't say, oh, you need to keep your weight off that and have them actually do it, and surely you need to do something to actually treat them. Anyway, yeah, and also early on she says that his passion for veterinary surgery matched her own for human medicine, but then later she says that his knowledge of medicine was at the same level as hers. She's a supposedly amazing doctor, and even if he started in human medicine and then went to veterinary surgery, she's theoretically been working in human medicine for how many years and working in some of the top hospitals, and she's obviously going to have to keep up to date with her knowledge. So how could he be at the same level as her? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm getting angry and I'm leaving at the really angry parts. So this is not when she first says stuff. So I'm just going to take you back to what happened at the start. So she was abducted. The person said they had removed her birth control coil and that they were going to give her a vulvectomy. And she woke up in the hospital and said she'd been raped. Then this is like a day later, and there have been no other victims. There's been nothing else happening, but this is her next step, which really, really, really pisses me off. She eased back from him, looked him straight in the eye, and told him bluntly, "There's a killer on the loose, not just a rapist. This man is a sadistic sicko. I need you to believe me that last night is not a figment of my imagination or caused by a blow to my head. I lay captured, Patrick, and the only thing that kept me sane was thinking about you. I certainly didn't lie out in a car park for several hours. I lay in the hands of the scariest bastard you could ever imagine. And do you know what gets me most? It's that the police are not prepared to investigate properly. They can't accept that it could have happened, but I'll have the CT and then we can move on with the most obvious conclusion, that I've lost my fucking mind." So, like, First, the guy says that he's going to perform medical procedures on her, and she says that he raped her. Then no one's died and no one's actually been raped. So yeah, but there's a killer on the loose, not just a rapist. He's a sadistic sicko, and he is the scariest bastard you could ever imagine, and yet nothing has been done to her. Like, just... So, once again, as someone who has dealt with this situation, I'm not going to go out there saying, oh, this person kissed me, oh, they actually raped me. Like, that's not what you do. And you don't turn around and go, oh, this person might have raped me, but hey, they're also a killer. But there's no one has died. Like, how do you... Yeah, okay. And then they go away for a week for her to sort of de-stress and take some time away and recover and all that sort of stuff. And so this is when they're on their way back at the airport, and she's thinking back on their time and on the previous days. Patrick hadn't said he no longer believed her, yet the mere fact of not bringing up the subject at any time other than last night was beginning to tell. She wondered if he thought she'd experienced some form of psychosis, and whether it would be the easiest option to allow him to draw this conclusion. Again, I go through a really horrible situation, and I tell my partner about it, and I tell the police about it, and they're investigating or not investigating or whatever, but I don't have any new information, and there's nothing that I can do to actually go back and change what happened. I don't want my partner to be there going, oh, so we should talk about this again, and bringing it back. Like, traumatic situations replay in your head. You don't need someone else to keep reminding you of it when you're not thinking of it. So him not bringing it up is supposedly a show that he doesn't believe her, and if he was bringing it up, that would be supportive. Fuck off. Like, seriously. Anyway, and last one. Oh, and this is the part that really makes me doubt her supposed skills as a doctor. This is a girl has been brought in to the hospital. She's actually been missing for a week. She's pregnant, or she was pregnant, and she's bleeding a lot. Like, she's bleeding out. So I feel like the start of this bit that I'm going to read is the author's way of trying to justify what the character did, but it just, I don't know. I'm going to read it and then I'll discuss it. The voice was weak, the breathing laboured, and Alex sensed in her heart that her patient wasn't going to make it. This moment might be the last that this young woman ever had to speak, and Alex ignored the anaesthetist, who was now indicating that she move away so he could proceed. She was going to give her patient this time. Tell Mum I'm sorry, tell her I love her, I'm so stupid, She was panting, and Alex quickly replaced the oxygen mask. Fiona appeared at her side, smiling at the patient, her tone gentle but firm. She needs to be out of here now, Alex. Alex stroked the woman's forehead. I'll tell her, sweetheart, but you're going to get better and you can tell her yourself. Alex, Fiona commanded through gritted teeth. Dr. Taylor, you need to let the anaesthetist get to her, Maggie Fielding stated calmly, her voice finally conveying to Alex the urgency of the situation. Alex stared at the medical team surrounding her, impatience stamped on all of their faces. Dr. Taylor, we need to help her, Maggie spoke for all of them. The eyelids suddenly lifted higher and the woman's eyes were filled with fear. You said you'd help me. You... Her eyes rolled back and then a whisper of final words. I should have said yes. So that final word thing is how Alex comes to know or comes to think that this is a victim of the same person. But for the main character, who is a supposedly brilliant doctor, to decide that this character is going to die anyway, so we may as well, I may as well draw this out and not let her get the treatment that could save her life. For her to decide that, just how the fuck is she supposedly a brilliant doctor? Like, and also I don't believe her as a person, as a human being, like, or definitely not a human being who's got any kind of medical experience or qualification. I mean, I do say this as a person who doesn't have medical qualifications, so I could be well wrong, and please do feel free to comment. The author is a nurse of many years, and apparently she also runs a hotel or something now. It doesn't have the quote that I found, but there was a quote basically saying that she worked in as a nurse for many years, and now she works in a hotel, and it says something about how she uses the same, like the transition was easy because she uses the same greeting for her customers as she did for her patients, which was, "How did you sleep?" Like, I want to laugh because I also kind of want to get really, like, I mean, I am angry. There is something else that I should mention. It is a trigger warning. I mean, beyond the whole rape situation, there is a trigger warning here. I'm going to put like a spoiler thing along the bottom here. So when that goes away, feel free to unmute if you decide you want to mute because you really want to read this book. Or maybe you're in the middle of reading it and you don't want it to be spoiled for you. So at the very end, there's animal cruelty. There's a pet rat that has a vat of boiling sauce tipped over it, which means that it's then crying out in pain. And as someone who has had pet rats in the past, and as someone who has seen animals in pain and not understanding what's going on, that was the most emotion I felt in this book. I mean, there was a lot of "this book sucks" and "how dare this author," like, you know, like, this is so damaging to the Me Too movement because it's basically saying, yeah, the women who say that they're raped or that someone's a killer, yeah, they're totally fucking lying. Yeah, I really hated this book. But if you read it and you loved it, or if you're reading it and you're hating it, or if you have anything that you want to say on the matter, please do feel free to comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have any thoughts on the way that this character responded to what was theoretically like a really good message. Please do. Like, I'd love to have a discussion in the comments below. And yeah, apparently this got over 400 5-star reviews from real readers when it was in digital copy, and I just don't know how. So if you're one of them, or if you think that you're reading it and you're going to give it 4 or 5 stars, let me know, because yeah, I'd love to have a discussion. Alrighty, thanks guys, that's it. I've had my little rant. I've been ranting to people about it for the last several weeks, and that's kind of what led me to know that I needed to do this as a separate review. This is my first separate review, so let me know what you thought. I know that my structure wasn't particularly great. I did try and keep to like my sort of plot, characters, quotes, impressions. This book just made me so angry, and I gave it 1 out of 10, which equates to 0.5 out of 5 on Goodreads. So yeah, thanks guys. Don't forget to like or subscribe if you liked or want to keep up to date with what's going on, and I'll see you soon for my hauls and wrap-ups and maybe some tags. Thanks guys, bye!